Welcome to Uncloaked Illusions. I'm Chris Anthony, and I wanted to discuss a couple topics, maybe a few, and I will initiate this with the launch of the Yuan-backed oil futures contract that occurred on March 26th. And I'll segue into topics maybe concerning the whole Facebook debacle, the omnibus fiscal bill that was passed, give my perspective on that because I've given one on it, but I've also done a little research to further certain perspectives that I've had, and that's also changed certain perspectives that I've had, and go from there. Let's get started. China is the world's biggest crude consumer and buys most of its oil from Russia. However, most settlements are still in US dollars. The launch of the Petro Yuan now allows Moscow and Beijing to use national currencies instead. China and Russia are actively reducing dependence on the dollar in bilateral trade. In October 2017, Beijing launched a payment system for transactions in yuan and Russian rubles. This means the settlements for Russian oil deliveries to China, which have reached 60 million tons per year, can be done without using a dollar. After Monday's launch of the yuan-backed oil futures in Shanghai, there have been negotiations between Russia and China on mutual promotion of oil futures in national currencies, RIA Novosti reported. I hope I'm saying that correctly or pronouncing it correctly. Novosti. Yeah, we'll go with that. In 2016, the St. Petersburg exchange in Russia launched Urals oil futures in the Russian ruble and supported from China could prop up Russian crude futures. China's new oil benchmark had a hugely successful debut. That was something that I was looking into, and it definitely was. Within an hour, I believe they sold over 200,000 contracts. On the first day of trading in Shanghai, 62,500 contracts were with more than 62 million barrels of crude traded for a national value of nearly 27 billion yuan, 4 billion. Zero Hedge reported Glencore, Trafigura, Freepoint Commodities, and other huge oil trading corporations took part. Russia held its position as China's largest crude oil supplier in February. Russia supplied 5.52 million tons or 1.32 million barrels per day last month, up 17.8% from a year earlier, according to Reuters, quoting the Chinese General Administration of Customs. The increase in volume happened as a result of a second Sino-Russian oil pipeline, which began operation on January the 1st. It doubled China's capacity to pump oil from the East Siberia Pacific Ocean System, ESPO. East Siberia Pacific Ocean connects Russia and China with a direct pipeline. Okay, now my thoughts on this. The whole launching of the Petro Yuan's oil futures contract, this is important, and this is almost a disservice from our media to not report on any of this, because this is ultimately going to change the American persons and citizens' way of life. When countries start jumping on this, and believe me, many are already jumping on this because they are tired of being pegged to this war-driven system. A lot of dollars are going to come back to the United States. You know, we are already dealing with inflation, and that's very tremendous and excruciating on the American citizen because, quite frankly, a great deal of people are living from paycheck to paycheck. So just imagine when the dollars start coming back to the United States, because other countries are dumping the dollar and dumping their treasuries to buy the yuan to go along with their system. What you're going to experience is hyperinflation. And if you do not understand or have an idea of what hyperinflation is, you can look at places like Venezuela. You can look at what is the country in Africa that currency went through the whole hyperinflation decimal reality in a sense. I can't really recall right now, but it'll come to me, I'm quite sure, at another moment. However, I digress. Needless to say, this is what we're going to deal with. And this is why you have a great deal of the distractions that are happening in the country. You don't hear anything about the launch of the Petro Yuan and how great it did on its first day, actually, within the first couple hours, how successful it's already becoming, and how it's going to continue this. And it's going to take maybe a few months, maybe several months for the U.S. citizen to actually feel this. The leaders that we have here, they're not really paying attention to any of this, and they definitely should be, because their dollars also are going to be worth absolutely nothing. And that is, as I was mentioning a moment ago, this is why you see all the political chaos going on, because they need to distract you from what's actually going on underneath or behind the curtains. They know what's coming, and it should be their duty as the leaders of this country to warn the American people what is about to ensue. But of course, they're only interested in lining their pockets as much as they possibly can until the ship completely capsizes. Contrary to the picture that's painted in the media, mainstream media, I recall one of the pundits pointing out that the media, is just the multi-ethnic destruction of America, and I completely agree with that. Now, with all of this going on, I do maintain that Trump is actually trying to bring the jobs back to this country, because he also understands what's about to occur. And he's trying to soften the blow that's ultimately going to happen. Now, with all of the rhetoric that is going on with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party that's against their own candidate, in a sense, I don't see that this is going to end well. I don't see it's going to end well at all. And unfortunately, a great deal of the Americans are going to get a nice rude awakening. In a sense, I wish I could warn people more so than what I'm doing right now. And I actually will try to, because that's going to be a part of my awareness campaign. And this needs to be discussed. This launch is huge, and we're not hearing anything about it. You're literally going to, in your lifetime, witness and experience the death of a reserve, world reserve currency, and the beginning of a new, which also brings me back to the Economist magazine. I don't know why I keep going back to that, with the phoenix rising from the ashes of the dollar and other world currencies. And this phoenix has a gold medallion around its neck. A great deal of these elitists, they put in plain sight what they're going to do and what they're carrying out. And it's just that we have become so engrossed in entertainment that all of these things go completely over our heads. And again, it's just a revitalization of Rome. Right before Rome fell, the country was completely over entertained, completely sexually and morally deprived, and their economy was literally imploding right in front of them. But they were all completely induced with entertainment, with affairs that really shouldn't have even been important whatsoever, like angels angels being either, I believe, masculine or feminine energy. This is what they were worrying about. And also, perfect segue to the whole Zuckerberg issue. I read an article, and I'm going to put the link in here of this particular person pointing out how he loads the people on Facebook because he thinks they're idiots. Why would you post so much of your personal and private life for the world to see? And this is what he thinks of you guys. And for you Facebookers, you continue to literally give your Fourth Amendment away. You infringe more on your Fourth Amendment than you're allowing the government to do. And this was one of the tactics of Hitler as well. He convinced the people that they would be safe if they allowed the government complete and total control over their lives. And them being so upset and egregious about paying reparations from World War One, and their economy being ravaged, and their pride also being ravaged. They went along with this. It sounded like a good plan that they could get behind, a promise that they were hoping would be fulfilled, and it just kind of turned on them. So, in truth, they gave most of their freedoms away because it all sounded legitimate at the moment. And unfortunately, this is something that you're witnessing in the United States as well. People actively and openly give their freedoms away. So, there's an investigation. I know that Congress has asked him to speak before them because they want to investigate this particular hacking of all of the members of his platform, his site, how their information has been given to many different corporations. And this is why I'm not really a Facebook person. I have it for the means of being able to communicate with people about the political front and geopolitics and policies. I really don't want it to socialize with anyone beyond that because I actually respect and appreciate, and I value my Fourth Amendment. I value my freedom. And that's also something that, is coming down the pike. You should look into that if you want to continue to display a great deal of your life on Facebook. You need to look into where this information is being funneled to and give a damn about this. Care enough about this, because when all of this metastasizes and it literally completely explodes, and it's going to do that, and all the chips fall, you're only going to have, the communities around you that you've created relationships with, and you've created trust-based relationships as well with, because you're going to be having to fend for food, which is why a lot of pundits encourage people to always stock up on food. You can never have too much food. And sound the alarm, inform people around you what's actually taking place, what's going on. So we have a great deal of things that's going on, and I just really wanted to touch bases on the launch of the Petro Yuan, because this is important. This is a game changer. If you know anything about the oil trade system, this is the reason why the United States has become the reserve currency, world reserve currency, and it's powerful because the oil literally is backed by the U.S. military. And countries, through the deals that were made with the United States and the OPEC nations and Saudi Arabia and others, that people would have to, or countries, sorry, would have to purchase the dollar in order to purchase the oil and, you know, the energy, and it's necessary. So this is why we have a completely fucking crazy Fed that's able to print money, you know, into existence and out of thin air. But that's about to change. You know, that is certainly about to change. And we, the people here, being that all of our jobs in the 90s were sent overseas, and we don't really produce anything but porn and trash. So I think that that's something to really think about. A great deal of the jobs that could have sustained this country, and we could have gone through these growing pains. We would definitely have to work hard, but at least the jobs would have been back in our country, and we would have been able to produce something to still be a vital component in the world. But that has all been stripped away from us. So a country that the only thing they can produce is porn and trash and ultimately war, you know, and countries are moving away from it. What do you think that's going to spell out for this country at this point, now that it now has competition? And most of the countries, if not all countries, are going to move toward this particular competitor because, you know, Xi Jinping shares the same sentiment with Confucius. You know, they want harmony. They want to bring the world out of poverty, and they want to elevate the world. And the United States, if they ever had this as a means, it's been lost a very long time ago. And you're going to see a lot of desperate people. And I would say that the first people that they're probably going to go for is their Congress, their congressmen and their leaders. You know, you may see it in other another French Revolution where we behead a goddamn leader. It's going to be interesting. That's all I can say. Prepare yourself. By the way, give me your feedback on this. I do have my Blog Talk radio station that's going to be hopefully airing a show in about a week or so. What do you think I should discuss? I personally want to discuss the geopolitical events that's occurring, also the domestic political debauchery that we're experiencing on a regular basis, you know, history, little philosophy. But I'm a little weary about addressing the black community because I see with a great deal of black people, it's a touchy situation because no one really wants to hear any solutions, because I don't believe they really want any solutions. You know, there really is no hope in change. So give me your perspective. I want to discuss these things, but then a part of me feels like it's going to be futile. It's going to be useless. It's going to cause more of a problem than it will actually provide a solution. Give me your feedback on this. By the way, please like the videos, revisit some of my videos, like those videos, share those videos, because the more you like the videos, the easier it is to find me in the feed, and the algorithm will allow me to show up in many different areas. And that's something that's necessary right now, because these things need to be discussed. These things need to be put on the forefront so I can provide this information for you, others can, and then you can decide what you're going to do with it. But you won't be able to say you didn't hear about it. You didn't know that this was coming. Yeah, share the videos, like the videos. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. And also, let's continue to get those subscriptions up, because when I see it get to a certain point, then I'll I'll decide whether or not to go live so I can interact with you guys and get a lot of the feedback and in that means. I'm Chris Anthony, and I am out.